My name is DUFAY. I haven't done a video in quite a while, and it's because there's been a lot going on. Lost my twin brother on Christmas Day last year, so it's been kind of tough, and a couple of pets and things like that. So, but I've always had the Mandela effect in mind. In fact, every every day you look around and you stop and think, wow, this is a totally different reality that has always existed. And I wanted to kind of go over some of these pictures I had done with captions, and because they explain a lot. Like, first of all, we have to look at this like Sherlock Holmes, because this whole thing is a mystery. It's a riddle. And like Sherlock Holmes, we have to eliminate what's impossible, like things changing. It's impossible for the earth to change size. It's impossible for things to change, overnight, our bodies and things like that. These things are impossible. So whatever's left, no matter how improbable, it must, be the answer to the riddle. Now, what do I mean by, whatever's left, no matter how improbable it may be? Referring to the fact that, well, obviously, we're shifting into realities that have always existed. So what does that tell us? That our soul is more incredible than we ever even imagined. It's just remarkable. And it's also showing us that our life is like a film on the roll. Every frame represents each of our realities. And as the film rolls, our realities blend into a choreographed, fluent, continuous motion. And basically, it's the Mandela effect's revealing that, without these multiple realities, we wouldn't exist. And just like the movie would not exist without the film, we would not exist without this quantum entanglement. It's just incredible what the Mandela effect's revealing. It's, not meant to scare us, even though I have to admit I was really scared at first. And I was just watching a program on the CBS News this morning where a first generation immigrant did videos for therapy because, her parents demanded so much from her, and she needed to do these videos for therapy. And I remember that's why I started the YouTube channel TERRAS of the Milky Way many years ago. It was basically, therapy for me to do these videos. I wasn't counting on getting any subscribers or anybody, interested. I just basically did it for myself to talk about it because there's nobody to talk to, because most of the people around us are not experiencing this. Therefore, they have their original soul portion they were born with. So everything is as though it should be. Everything is as it should be in this reality. Nothing's changed in any reality. But we've always been here. And then, I've always likened our quantum shifting like musical chairs. When we shift realities, it's like musical chairs. While the music plays, every portion of your soul is in superposition, a quantum flux, all moving in one direction. When the music stops, every portion of your soul coalesces into another replica version of yourself in another reality you always existed in. In other words, when you sit down in a chair when the music stops, you're sitting down in another reality, that another replica version of yourself, which is always going to be there. Nothing change, nothing leaves these realities, even your bodies. Only our soul portions are shifting. And then it's ironic too that CERN's getting all the credit for the Mandela effect when they have nothing to do with it. And it's the irony is this research facility is searching for the answers to life, trying to accomplish what the Mandela effect is already doing. And it is ironic that they are credited for this phenomenon, and they shouldn't be. Again, they had nothing to do with it. It basically, again, it's important to realize that this phenomenon, the Mandela effect, is doing nothing other than revealing how life has always been, yet never known. And then here, this Shiva the Destroyer. While CERN is searching for the meaning of life, the Mandela effect has already found it. It's revealing things that, at least in my case, that's the first thing, once I got beyond the fear, the first thing that came to my mind was, wow, we human beings and all life on Earth, including the Earth itself, is way more incredible than we ever imagined. It's just phenomenal that these realities have always existed, and we never even knew it. But we're getting this chance to visit it. And here I got a rubber-powered airplane for illustration. It's basically like our quantum entanglement. And here I have a caption, like the rubber band on a plane. The quantum entanglement will always unwind and maintain its original position. And this really, what this illustrates is that the outcome of every event in every reality is the same. In other words, there are variations and differences in many, many events because of the geographic differences, because of many, reasons we're yet to find out. But the outcome is always the same. And I always use Nelson Mandela as an example. And I also believe that the Mandela effect was meant to be a conundrum. It was meant to be taken in many different ways. And I always look at things, differently. Uh, you know, look outside the box. I've always been dyslexic, and that makes me look at things outside the box. And being dyslexic in an inverted society can have many benefits because, again, we really do live in an inverted society. Everything is backwards. It's like it should be. It should be opposite, and you find that in many, many things. So the same could be true with the Mandela effect. But if we keep it simple and eliminate the things that are impossible, and there are going to be reasonable explanations that are left, like the fact that, well, apparently our soul is splintered and fractured, and that's why we're doing this. So this illustration I caught on a commercial. Though our multiple realities may vary, they'll always return to their original destiny. So each of those strands is one of our realities, and there's going to be differences when we see that, variations and differences. But it always springs back to being you. And then here I've shown the Milky Way galaxy. I always remember it being out on the outer reaches, of course, you see on the upper left there. And then, of course, this reality is located in the Orion spur of the Milky Way galaxy, which is connected to the Sagittarius arm, basically one and the same. So maybe these realities are all in the same galactic arm, because we never really reached realities on another arm. But here we can see that there's actually, between these distances where many of us recall being, and of course we're still there. We know we're still there because if anything happened out there, it's going to happen here. So nothing happened to those realities to cause the Mandela effect. The Mandela effect's happening for a reason, not because something happened to that Earth. The only thing that could have happened to that Earth is it could be calving right now, that galactic arm, because I remember that reality being so far off the arm, and really even like off the galactic plane, that it was just amazing how far out it was. So if the Sagittarius arm were to calve, which could be happening right now and causing the Mandela effect, that's the only thing that could happen to those realities, even though they still exist. And here's Nelson Mandela, a great namesake for this phenomenon. And we know he perished in prison in some realities, and others he ascended to presidency of South Africa after being liberated from prison. So so whether he was a president or martyr, the geopolitical situation in South Africa remains the same in every reality. So it didn't matter. So here I did a correction, same caption, but with the geopolitical situation in South Africa remains the same, with or without him, whether he was a martyr or a president. Didn't matter. And this is something that's real important to always remember, that things are not changing, period. They are just different, period. And that is because we're in a different reality we've always existed in, period. It's as simple as that, people. I mean, I have to take this moment to apologize for not taking any comments. I'm not as thick-skinned as I thought I was, but when I had the channel TERRAS of the Milky Way, which I personally deliberately deleted, there was just so much hatred. People. It's ironic that really what the Mandela effect's revealing is wonderful and answers many questions to the meaning of life. That to talk about it, people get very, very angry and hateful. I've even had death threats. So at this time, I'm not taking comments. I'm very sorry for that, because I know 99% of the comments were very positive and uplifting, and I love all you guys. So, but again, remember that things are not changing; they're just different. And then the really interesting thing about the time is really there's a good answer for that, because the axis speed of the Earth is the same in every reality. In other words, the Earth spins off its axis the same speed. And we can say this with confidence because we know that the entire Milky Way galaxy rotates off of the galactic center. The arms all rotate around the galactic center. Now, anywhere you are in that arm, you could be on the outer tip or in close to the galactic center like we are now, the galaxy still spins at the same speed. In fact, it's contrary to Kepler's laws of dynamics. Because if you take an example of a merry-go-round or a helicopter blade, the speeds will vary as you go closer to the hub or the center or further out on the merry-go-round or the helicopter blade or whatever. It's always a variable speed, but not with the galaxy. Now, we can assume that the axis speed of the Earth is the same. And every Earth is calibrated on a 24-hour clock for one full revolution of the Earth. So if the smaller the Earth, the faster the linear time will be. That explains why we have variations in time differences here. It's the only explanation. Because again, we have to eliminate the impossible. The time didn't just suddenly speed up. It's always been this fast in this reality. It's 50% faster too. So, and yeah, another thing, this is important. It's not me telling you all this. It's the Mandela effect telling us this. It's showing us these incredible things. And I think it's meant to do that. I really do. And we could see from the fossil records that even the dinosaurs had a parallel existence. Their fossil records are in every reality. And another thing I would really like to always, it's just so fascinating to be able to look up at Orion and look at the belt stars and know that there are Earths orbiting those stars. And we can assume that our sun is a star from another perspective, from another reality. And, this sun could very well be part of Orion's belt from another perspective, from another reality. Very likely. Or one of the other constellations, perhaps. It's very interesting. But to look up at the night sky and look up at all those stars and just wonder how many of them have Earths with us on them is fascinating to me. And then we can see that there's many differences in our skeletons. And our bodies did not change overnight, period. So, it's the only explanation, which is the only one left, and improbable, but not impossible, is we have our independent soul portion is in another replica version of yourself that has always existed and has been sharing your soul since the day you were born. Isn't that incredible? So we know, we eliminate the impossible, and we look at what's really happening. This reality has always existed. It did not change. And I don't know why the driving thing is showing off. I didn't shut off the notifications. Obviously, I'm not driving. I'm sitting in my office right now. And we know that our fingernails didn't change overnight. They've always been like this in this replica version of yourself in this reality, always. I'm talking about the ridges that are from the tip to the cuticle. I remember, I'm a nail biter, so I know what my nails look like, my fingernails. They were smooth and very delicate, in the reality I recall. Here, they're very tough and have ridges. It's kind of amazing that our bodies seem to be more robust in this reality. And I think the quantum shifting is a process that is cleansing our soul. Think about that. This is perhaps the first time this has ever happened, that our soul portions are being allowed to coalesce into other replica versions of ourselves in other realities. Think about that. This is phenomenal, where distance doesn't matter. 75 light years in a blink of an eye is incredible. And that's the distance between this solar system and the solar system many of us recall. And again, we're still out there. There's just another portion of your soul in that replica version of yourself where your portion of your soul originated. It's fascinating when you think about that. I don't know why the driving thing's going on and off. Boy, I should have turned off the notifications. I didn't think I had a problem here. And we could see that there's many variations and differences in movies, and that's due to the editors. And why would that be? Because editors have more choices and decisions in their job. More that which part of the film do they keep, which part of the film do they cut out, which take do they keep. It's amazing to notice the differences. And of course, there are time constraints. And I often think of Sigmund Freud. He would have had a heyday if he was experiencing the Mandela effect, because it would have answered everything that he was always searching to understand. It would have been revealed by the Mandela effect. But he would have just loved to have this understanding. And we know that UFOs are paranormal, and I think that all paranormal things are one and the same. And that's been proven simply because of the Mandela effect. They're in all dimensions, and all these things, they have a parallel existence as well. Now, which would indicate that they didn't come from another solar system. They like to say that they came from the constellation of Orion or the Perseus or any of the, they like to say they come from that star or this star, but they fail to mention that you are there too. So in a sense they're not really lying, but they're trying to get us to think that don't believe me, that those people involved in paranormal things or people in charge and things like that do not want us to know what the Mandela effect's revealing. That's why they're putting in all this confusion about it. And it's important to realize that our realities are separated by distance, not dimensions. Now, they talk about the parallel universe theory that kind of gets dimensional, and it also says that every decision we can make, we did make. Now, that's not true. The Mandela effect's revealing, at least in my case, that every decision I've made in every reality. So, but it's not dimensional. It's all one dimension, even though there are other dimensions, of course, but those other dimensions are parallel too. Like basically every reality has its own heaven, so heaven is parallel, if you will. So here we go with the film analogy again. In the film, each frame represents each reality. Some frames may have a different background, but the film remains the same. What I mean by that is, of course, geographically, there's many variations and differences between the Sagittarius super-Earths and the Orion dwarf-Earths. So naturally, you're going to see different backgrounds. And there are other reasons why there's different backgrounds, which we'll get into here in a moment, in movies. So, and also antiquities in every reality, which proves prehistory was parallel too, which also proves that this is the way life has always been when we have never known it before. So our realities are separated by distance, not dimensions. Here, that's again 75,000 light years in our case. And then the dime, I just freaked out when I saw Franklin Delano Roosevelt on the Liberty dime. I just couldn't believe it because I used to collect them, because the early Liberty dimes in the reality I recall was Dwight D. Eisenhower. I used to collect them because the early ones were silver. So I made sure I collected them. And then before the Liberty dimes, in the reality I recall, they were Mercury dimes. And of course, those were always all silver. So I collected them. So I remember vividly, having, Dwight D. Eisenhower. Now here's the crafter of the Liberty dime. And I'm sure he also crafted a version with, Dwight D. Eisenhower. I can imagine in every reality, of course, you're not going to be able to find out with the mint because they're so strictly regulated. But in every reality, no doubt they had a choice to make, between the two candidates, Franklin Delano Roosevelt or Dwight D. Eisenhower. Both are perfect candidates for the Liberty dime. Some realities they chose FDR, and others they chose. It still amazes me to see this. Other realities they chose this guy. In fact, this is the how it looked. It wasn't a profile like FDR. It was a face on like that. So the Earth, and this is another part the Mandela effect's revealing, because some of us recall the Earth being 3-4 times bigger than this one, and further out on the galactic arm. So basically that proves that the Earths do grow as they age and they venture out towards the outer reaches as the galaxy grows and as the galactic arms calve. Of course, that's contrary to what astrophysicists believe now, only because they have to follow the Big Bang Theory. This is, in affront to the Big Bang Theory because, again, everything's inverted, everything's backwards. The galaxy is not shrinking. There's not a supermassive black hole in the galactic center. It's the opposite. It's a supermassive white hole that's constantly creating matter. The galaxy does not take a break. In fact, it's creating Earths and solar systems as we see them now. In fact, there probably may be different. There might be the brand new solar systems that are being created as galactic arms are calving. Might have a planet where the asteroid belt is. Who knows how the original solar system looked? But those are brand new ones since creation started, are devoid of any reality as we know it. So could those be the new Earths? Good question, right? There are Earths of all sizes in the Milky Way galaxy. They all rotate off their axis at the same speed. That is why the Orion dwarf Earth's linear time is 50% faster than the Sagittarius super-Earth's linear time. We kind of went over that before. And we got to always remember that it was human beings that invented time, and linear time is calibrated from the Earth's size and rotation. This is a real interesting event. This is, the first night game at Wrigley Field. It happened on August 8th, 1988. I remember that vividly. And it was a drought year. We didn't have a drop of rain all year until that night game, first night game in Chicago and Wrigley Field. Now, that happened in every reality. Some realities, they postponed the game to the next day, making the official night game the 9th. But in the reality I recall, they went ahead and made sure to play. It didn't matter how late. It was several hours late. But they did play in the one I recall. But the fact is it proves that the weather events are the same. Even the weather is the same in every reality. They're very close to the same. So, and we have to realize too, because everything is made from the Earth, it stays on the Earth. Everything is made from the Earth and stays on the Earth. Everything remains in each reality. Only our souls are leaving one reality to another. Now, the point here is that because everything is made from the Earth and made by human beings that have a parallel existence, and of course all the inanimate objects that are manufactured are going to be parallel too, but they're never going to leave the Earth. Either our bodies. It's all about our soul. Here's a Liberty dime again. I kind of got this out of order. I got it kind of superimposed, the two different ones. But I recall Dwight D. Eisenhower. Big time. See to the right there, that's how I recall it. And no doubt, like I said before, both men were considered to be on a Liberty dime in all the realities. In some realities, the U.S. Mint chose Dwight D. Eisenhower here. In other realities, they chose Franklin Delano Roosevelt. Or here, they chose Franklin Delano Roosevelt. In other realities, they chose Dwight D. Eisenhower. And it was head on, it was, I don't know what the proper term for that, but it's profile FDR, but it face head on with Dwight D. Eisenhower. I remember it vividly. That's a picture of me. In some realities, Dwight D. Eisenhower was on that. See, there we go again. I just have this kind of going over these pictures with captions because I basically don't know. Because, I can't really do new videos because I've already explained everything or the way I see it or the way the Mandela effect's showing us all. Again, it's not me telling you. It's, the answers are out there for everybody to see. But this is another interesting aspect. This is Boxcar's one of the second bomber to drop the bomb on Hiroshima. Or Nagasaki, I'm sorry. And the Hiroshima was done by the Enola Gay, which was identical in every reality. But the boxcar was very interesting. For starters, I remember it being spelt B-O-X, C-A-R, 2 words. And here it's 1 word, spelt entirely different, but pronounced the same. And it had a similar cartoon art. I remember the boxcar being more bent, and not having as many wheels. I remember it's just slightly different, but certainly the spelling was different. But it managed to get its sortie-off mission accomplished, even though they had a lot of difficulty on the tarmac here and almost didn't pull it off. But of course, it was destined to happen because it happened in other realities. So it had to happen in this reality, regardless of what kind of situation they ran into. Again, that's that quantum entanglement. It's interesting. But the box, that's something that's always amazed me. And of course, we know the human skull did not change. It's impossible. Think about that. It's always been like this in this reality. Now, it's interesting to see a bone behind the eye socket. Now, that's not the way I recall it at all. There was no bone at all. But I could see why there should be, really. Again, these skeletons here in these realities are a lot more robust than I recall. This is my truck that I bought from a good friend of mine. And I remember when he bought it years and years ago, it must have been 15 years ago. This truck is about 16 years old. That's 2006, so 17. But in some realities, it's white. I recall it, in the reality I recall, where this portion of my soul originated from, it is white. And I remember that vividly. So in some realities, I know for a fact that this truck is white. And it too, even though it's inanimate, has a parallel existence because it was made in every reality. Think about that. Isn't that amazing? The Mandela effect showing us that our soul is splintered and fractured. This is important now. It's very obvious that that's what it's showing us. Now, I never even, I came to that conclusion before I realized that there are a lot of groups of people out there that have always believed this, that our soul is splintered and fractured. They don't know where the other splintered and fractured parts are, but the Mandela effect is revealing that our other portions of our soul are in other realities that are virtually identical. So it's really interesting. And it's then each portion of our soul is fiercely independent. I mean, it's amazing. And each is housed in a replica version of ourselves in other independent realities which closely resemble the reality you originate from. Now, again, there are drastic differences and variations, but you have to admit, if you look at the Earth as a whole, this Orion dwarf Earth, it's still, even though it's much, much smaller, even upwards of 4 times smaller, it's still unusually similar. You have to admit it. And the realities are unusually similar as well. And again, I can't say this enough. Our realities are separated by distance, not dimensions. Isn't that incredible when you think about it? So really, we are the big show in the Milky Way galaxy. We are the pinnacle of creation in the Milky Way galaxy. This Mandela effect is showing us all this stuff. And it's also showing, this is very important, that the basic fundamental foundation of existence is quantum entanglement. Because we are entangled on a quantum level to every replica version of ourselves. Our soul portions are entangled constantly, whether they're experiencing the Mandela effect or not. That's why we have premonitions. That's why we have deja vu. Everything is explained by what the Mandela effect is revealing. Think about that. Everything. I'll get into jet lag even here is explained. And here again, we go into the expanding Earth theory. It was postulated in the 1930s. And the Mandela effect is vindicating these early pioneers of the expanding Earth theory. It explains so many things. Why we get earthquakes and volcanoes. And of course, it's so infinitesimal that we can't notice it in a lifetime. In fact, humans, with the technology they have now, may be able to realize it at some point in the distant future. They cannot deny that. But again, it's, the Earth is virtually identical in each reality, in size and everything. And humans have not been able to recognize that it's growing. They assume that, again, because of the Big Bang Theory, they assume that the Earth has been this size since the very beginning and is going to remain this size. But again, it doesn't. So many things make so much more sense because of what the Mandela effect's revealing. Now, the Panama Canal varies considerably from Earth to Earth, yet the license plates are going to be the same in every reality. I found this license plate in a flea market, and I love it. And this number is the same in every reality. And I have this license plate in every reality. And, the Panama Canal still exists in every reality, even though because of geographic situations, like the Isthmus of Panama being so, drastically different, the canal has to be different as well. And the human bodies apparently are built to suit the Earth they're created on, and they seem to, obviously, like I mentioned before, much more robust in these realities. And again, I think the Mandela effect was meant to be a riddle. It's a faith-based phenomenon. Think about it. It's all about faith, and there's basically no proof whatsoever. We can't prove this. We're experiencing it, but we can't prove it. So it's all about faith, if you think about it. So it's interesting. And there's no that's why I know it was meant to be a riddle. And you can notice the movie backdrops in these realities have far less quality. I noticed it in the circus and the Ben-Hur and the big chariot race. And even though the movie's the same length in every reality, they have 50% less linear time to work with these movies in these realities. So the time must be made up somewhere, and it's all in the details. The corners are cut out to compensate. And they do it in the details and the backdrops and things like that. You can see it. This is my twin brother and me back in 1966 with my dad in his brand new van. Brand new 1966 Ford Econoline. But that's my twin brother to the left. The one that passed away just recently on Christmas Day, right in my own house here. Here we are in 1976, about, 10 years after that, in Colorado. That's a 1958 Chevy panel truck right there we're standing in. But that's my dear brother who passed away. But this picture was taken in every reality. It's crazy. And here they are. Here's my whole family, except for my youngest sister wasn't born yet, at Brookfield Zoo in 1960, in every reality. There's my twin brother and myself again. My twin brother to the left. And to get back to the quantum shifting, we have to realize it might be protecting our soul, because it's not only showing us things that have always been that we've never known, but it's also protecting our soul. Think about it. The Great Lakes, I got this sticker. I got a lot of these stickers, and they're fascinating because they vary in every reality. Because the Great Lakes vary in every reality, but they are there. They exist in every reality, but they unusually similar, but very, very different. So there we are with Sherlock Holmes again. But we have to keep in mind that religion has nothing to do with the Mandela effect. And by the mere fact that we're experiencing it, we know more about spirituality than the Pope. Think about that. It's amazing. And the Bible, of course, is going to be different. It was written by human beings. So of course it's going to be different in every reality. We should expect it. But it doesn't matter in Isaiah, where it says, the wolf and the lamb, or the lion and the lamb. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. I mean, the wolf is more applicable if you think about it, because they're a natural enemy. There's not going to be lions in the Middle East. So the lion is more flamboyant, and Isaiah seemed to be more flamboyant in those realities, again because there's more time. Think about it. But the essence of the verse remains the same. It doesn't matter if it's a wolf or a lion. People are making too much of this. Of course it's going to vary. And I noticed too, there's a kind of a paradox that the Mandela effect's revealing. I noticed that antiquities look older in these realities. And antiquity looks newer on the older Earths, which obviously the super Earths are. They're on the outer reaches of the galactic arm, and they're upwards of 4 times larger, so they're obviously older. But the antiquity looks newer on those older Earths, and they look older on these newer Earths. And we know that this is a newer Earth because they were much, 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 much closer to the galactic center, the source of all creation and matter in the Milky Way galaxy, which again is not taking a break. It's constantly creating and growing. In some realities, the paleontologists paint the fossils white. I recall all dinosaur fossils being white because I used to be a dinosaur nut when I was a kid. And we live very close to the Field Museum of Natural History in Chicago, and so we frequently went there every year. The school took us there, and we went family trips there as well. And I was always very interested in the dinosaur skeletons, of course, and things like that. And I remember them being white, but here they're more patinaed looking, like they should be. But again, this doesn't matter. It's still the same. Field Museum of Natural History in Chicago still has the same skeletons, although different color. Like we noticed that color is very different from reality to reality. And Sue, the T-Rex Sue in the Field Museum of Natural History in Chicago, is in every reality, which proves, again, of course, she had a parallel existence as well. So, again, that's really interesting, isn't it? So, sorry about that. So I'm doing this on my phone. I'm so used to doing it on my tablet. But I'm doing this on my phone because the tablet's being used for something else at the moment. So we have to keep in mind that, again, it wasn't human beings that caused the Mandela effect to occur. It was perpetrated by the Supreme Creator. Now, I used to say Jehovah, perpetrated by Jehovah to fulfill prophecy. But now, I don't think that's very, it doesn't matter a name. I think that the Supreme Creator is a Supreme Creator, whatever. Doesn't name, it doesn't matter, anything. It's just the fact, Mandela effect's revealing all these things. I don't, I have a lot of doubt in all religions now, all religions. And see, this is something to notice. Notice the backdrop behind, right in the center there, where those lights are. That's paper mache. Now, I remember that being plaster. I vividly remember it. But again, that explains, naturally they had to use paper mache here. They had less time to work on this movie, and they had more time on the Sagittarius Super Earth, so they used plaster. Here, they used paper mache. Isn't that interesting when you think about it? That explains why the backdrops have less quality here. But yet, they had to keep the movie going, It was destined to happen. Again, that Mandela effect's proven there's a lot to be said about destiny. So, and we have to realize that here we're going back to time again. Now, hourglasses are calibrated to suit the Earth's size and revolution in each reality. In other words, hourglasses calibrated for each Earth. Now, if the Earth's smaller, and it's going the same distance or same speed off its axis in one full revolution as a 24-hour day, naturally the smaller Earths are going to be much quicker. But yet the hourglass is going to suit the particular Earth it was created on. It's going to be an hour in every reality. Think about that. And here we go with the Great Lakes again. They're just very considerably from reality to reality. I can't even tell you how much different they look from what I recall. Because again, I was born in Chicago. I know what Lake Michigan looked like. It wasn't hooked like that, or bent like that. It was straight up and down and much larger. Like many things are much larger. Here's a good illustration. The departure time is exactly the same in every reality, but the arrival time varies in certain realities due to the Earth's size differences. And that would explain why we get jet lag. Think about it. Because if you're taking a trip across the country, your destination time is going to be much later, because the super Earth, the continental United States is 33,000 plus miles across, and here it's only 2,500 miles. So we're talking several hundred miles. So naturally, your arrival time is going to vary in every single reality. And until your soul portions all get back into synchronization, you're going to experience that sensation known as jet lag that they cannot explain. They do not know, and they're thinking it's the time zones. Well, our mind doesn't know we're crossing over a time zone. I mean, think about it. They have no idea why we experience jet lag. But the Mandela effect is telling us why we experience jet lag. Think about it. Because if we take that trip across the country, every replica version of yourself is taking that exact same trip, because every reality is virtually identical. You do the same things regardless of the geographic differences. So your departure time is going to be identical in each reality. And of course, the arrival time is going to vary considerably. Think about it, several hundred miles. That's could be an hour or two, depending on the distance of time variations. So some of your realities, you're already settled in the hotel, and other realities are still in flying. You haven't even reached the airport yet in your destination. So until all your soul portions and all your realities get back into sync, which always happens, look at the rubber band illustration. It's always going to unwind and go back into its exact original. Once that happens, then the sensation of jet lag goes away. Again, that's so funny. They can't explain it, but those of us experiencing Mandela effect have a reasonable explanation as to why we experience jet lag and get deja vu and premonitions and things like that. Interesting, isn't it? This is, I think, here we go with the battles. I studied battles in World War II, naval and Army and Marine battles of World War II and Air Force. Of course, it wasn't an Air Force until after World War II. It was the Army Air Force. So, but I studied it vividly in the reality this portion of my soul originated from. So I know the battles. And then here's the Japanese aircraft carrier, Hiru. It was the last one out of 4 aircraft carriers that was sunk in the Battle of Midway. Now, I recall it being sunk within 5 minutes, all 4 of them. But in some realities, this one got away. The Hiru got away, but was sunk later that day, ultimately. But again, it doesn't. The battles are going to vary, but the outcome remains the same. Another good one is I remember the Bismarck, the German battleship Bismarck, sinking the Hood and the Prince of Wales, the HMS Prince of Wales, a state-of-the-art ship, brand new. Of course, the Hood was a refitted old World War I battleship, so that was easily sunk, and in every reality, only 3 survivors. But in some realities, the HMS Prince of Wales got away, or they just left the battle because they were outnumbered. But I recall it being sunk. But again, as the quantum entanglement will have it, and as the way things are, the Prince of Wales ultimately was sunk 3 months later in this reality by the Japanese. So it still met its fate. It was destined in every reality to sink. But again, the outcome of the battle and the war is the same. And here too, the globes and maps are going to represent the Earth in each reality. Now, again, it's impossible for the globe to change. It's impossible for the maps and atlases to change. They didn't go all up to all the millions of school libraries and public libraries and all across the Earth and quickly come in and change all the globes and everything. You know what I mean? It's impossible. It's just, of course it's going to represent the Earth that it's in. I mean, they're good representations. This Earth did not change. It's always been like this. This horse, I carved this horse in 2011 in every reality. I still have this thing. And what amazes me is the mahogany is identical. If you look just under its mane, there's like a knot in the mahogany there. And that knot is there in every reality. I remember when I was carving it, I had to deal with it. It went all the way through the horse from side to side. So, that just proves that everything that we make is parallel too. And it amazes me too is how virtually identical the wood is also. Here's my whole family, my siblings, Dwayne, Darlene, Doreen, Connie, and myself in every reality in Naperville, Illinois in 1978. In every reality. Isn't that amazing? So I think that's about it with the captions. Here's a good one. The Mandela effect's revealing things that have always been, yet never known. Think about that. This reality has always existed. Everything has always existed here and hasn't changed. But to us, it looks like it changed. It's just simply different. But even we're here. So, the soul portion that was in this replica version of yourself is in another replica version of yourself, experiencing the exact same thing you are. There might be one that was from this reality that's in the reality you recall right now. And they're just amazed at how large the Earth is and how different everything is. But of course, if you have a proper attitude and understanding of what this is all about, again, it's not me telling you, it's the Mandela effect telling us, then every replica version of yourself, every portion of your soul is going to have the exact same attitude. So it's important to realize that, the power, just how incredible we are. I remember Braveheart, the movie, was so different. They had the geographic differences. I remember Scotland being its own island and Ireland being part of the main island in England, and here it's the opposite. Scotland's part of the main island, and so there was battle differences that Wallace had to deal with. But I do think that's about it. That's my cat with a model airplane I made of a Fokker triplane. That thing's electric powered. It actually flies. I haven't flown it yet, but I made that in every reality. That cat is in every reality too. His name is Bobby. But his spots vary, I notice. His spots are different. But he's the same Bobby. He has a splintered and fractured soul, too. I took a bunch of them because I wanted to find a good one to use for a backdrop. But see, I remember Braveheart being different. There's Mary Hall. Got her calendar from Mr. MB333. And she's standing next to her car collection, Hot Wheels collection. But I do think that's about it on the illustration pictures. There's so many more I can do, and I've made videos about these captions already. And that's why I don't do some videos too much, is because, I've said it all already. I just keep repeating myself. I don't want to keep repeating myself. But the fact is, you know, the bottom line is that's exactly what the Mandela effect is supposed to be doing. This is me not too long ago with my beard and everything and long hair. I since shaved the beard and cut my hair real short. But that was me recently. And there's my brother again. Here he is on a river trip in Colorado. Boy, I missed that guy. There we both are in Colorado. That was in the 70s. There he is with our Uncle Howard, who was a riverboat captain. Did river trips on not to Colorado. He'd go to all the big rivers, Snake River, things like that. There he is again. There he is with my sister. My sister went out there with him. I never went on the boat trips. I was too frightened, to be honest with you, because many people die on them river trips. There he is with me. I'm in the background. We just got back from a flea market. I remember we were sellers at a flea market, and we were both a little drunk, of course. That's at my mom's house too. There he is at the river trip again. There he is with my dad. That's our father, Clark DUFAY. Clark again. It's Bobby in the box. Again, I don't know how many more pictures I have that are pertinent to this video, but you know, again, here's the expanding Earth model again, 1933. See, that's how far back they've realized it. And of course, we know that as this Earth ages, it'll look just like the super Earths we recall, or very close, because apparently the northern hemisphere twists eastward as the Earth ages and grows as well, because the Americas will eventually line up like we recall on this Earth millions and millions of years from now. But if only they knew that, right? I mean, here's actually a video of in my shop that picked up something. See that thing going by? That was weird. But anyway, that's not really pertinent to this video. But again, I apologize for repeating myself and apologize for not allowing comments. I'll open that up soon. But for the most part, this is all about my own personal therapy. You have to talk about it. There's no one to talk to about it. Because again, it seems like 99% of the people around you have their original portion of their soul they were born with. So nothing's different to them. And so you can't tell them that I know I was always here, but my soul is splintered and fractured and is going through a quantum and flux and quantum shifting process. How do you explain that to somebody? Hey, there's realities out there that we're all in that are on a different Earth in a different location in a Milky Way galaxy. How do you tell people that? You can't. So you can only talk to people who are like-minded, that are experiencing the Mandela effect. And of course, among those people, there's a lot of confusion and anger and pointing fingers and things like that. And you're not supposed to do that. The best thing to do is to look for the evidence, because the evidence will speak to you. Even though we have no tangible evidence, we have intangible evidence, which is abound. I mean, our memories. We always have our memories. And it's not our memories that are going crazy. It's impossible for that to happen too, especially on such a large scale. So with that, I'll end it here, and I thank you for watching.